I come from a very rich family history, and those are some big shoes to fill. I don't know if I ever could, but I wear it it's like a badge of honor. You know, my siblings and I, we each kind of got a piece of him in different ways. For me, it's that philanthropic kind of giving back, and that's where I'm really passionate about. And, you know, I just hope the work that we do makes him proud, and it warms my heart when we see the kids smile at the end of the day. So it's really a fun time.
About to be 21, but you're already kind of setting on your own path to making sure that you're helping heal the world.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
I think it's just the way my dad raised me and my siblings. It's just like an inborn, I guess, something that's bred into us to really give back to the community.
What do you get out of the work that you're doing?
Well, my dad always taught me to lead by example, so I hope that I can set a good example that you can have fun by helping other people, and you can make a change just by doing that, so encouraging other people to do the same.
Do they understand who you are, Michael? Do they talk to you about your dad, or do they just think you're this nice man, Michael, who helps them with your charity and your foundation?
Definitely. I mean, it goes without saying, my father's name and his reputation precedes any foot that I put in any door. And I always get a lot of, your father was a great man, and that it's so awesome to see you doing this. And that's another reason why I take a lot of pride in the philanthropic work that I do, is because it positively reflects his parenting abilities and his parenting skills and how he decided to raise us. And I just feel that, you know, without him, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. And I'm just trying to continue to show that appreciation and that gratitude by continuing his philanthropic work with the Heal Los Angeles Foundation.
Welcome to this video in which Prince Jackson talks about his dad, Michael Jackson. You can learn a lot about MJ from listening to his son talking about everyday normal things they would do as a family, his faith, and what kind of music they listened to around the house. For example, did you know Michael Jackson collected swords?
Who made you this sweet?
The king of pop, yo. That's the only one. I appreciate that. Thank you. And my grandma.
Because me being his son, I'm biologically supposed to stand up for him, and that's what I do. But, you know, I guess if the whole world got to know him, they'd see him in a completely different, like, new thing. He wasn't, like, cocky or arrogant. He just thought himself he was a normal human being. Like, when we would have, like, prayers at dinner, he always used to thank Grandpa and Grandma for everything they gave him. They also thank God.
But being a Michael Jackson yourself, being the son of Michael Jackson, gosh, that must place an incredible burden, a sense of expectation on your shoulders when people meet you.
Most definitely. And I appreciate that you said being a Michael Jackson. Not a lot of people know that that's my name, and I'm very proud to share the same name as my father. And at that same, sharing that such a powerful name, you are correct that there is, I don't want to say a pressure or a weight, because that gives a negative connotation, but there is this legacy that my father worked very hard to build and to maintain. And I feel that it's my position really in my life and with everything that I've been given, that I just want to continue to expand that legacy, to improve it, and to just bring it and keep it. Sorry, I'm running out of words, but I feel such a pride for it that I really just, it's his legacy. He worked so hard for it, and I'm here just to make.
What are the things, Michael, that you take with you, going forward in your life, being in certain situations, that you remember your father? Can you hear his words, things that he told you to do in life?
Definitely. One thing for me is always, he wanted us to be the best at whatever it is that we did. And it's a form of motivation and a form of inspiration. It's no matter what you do, or no matter how confident you feel that you did something, no matter how well you did something, my father would always say, that's great, but what's next? How can we make it bigger? How can we make it better? What are you going to learn from this experience and apply to improve the next one?
Yeah.
And so in everything that I do, whether that's charity, whether that's the music video production, it's always figuring out, maybe what I did was good the last time, it was all right, but I need to make it better, and I need to make it the best. And it's always going to be like that. If one year is fantastic, the next year needs to be incredible.
Well, if I'm proud of it, What does that feel like for you?
An immense sense of pride.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be a Jackson. I'm proud of everything that my family accomplished and everything my father accomplished. I'm here now because of them.
Yeah.
And to see him being celebrated by the world and to have that love in such a strong way, I think is amazing. And then also, you know, the critics were betting against this movie, and here we are, first weekend out, it already broke records. And you know, my father was, is, and always will be a man of the people, and the people are speaking.
Yeah, and that part of it.
I think that my father deserves a project at this scale and size. He's one of the most important people in modern history, if not in history. And these are stories that I heard from my father growing up. He would tell me about his childhood and the things he accomplished in his life. When the family gets together and we talk about the good times and I hear these stories from them, that's where a lot of these stories came from. When Graham wanted to start the development of the story, it was sitting down with the people who knew him best and collecting these stories and figuring out which ones build to this character of Michael that we're telling the story around. And for me, it's just such a rewarding feeling because I grew up with my dad and I understand kind of the cause and effect. Like, my dad was mean to me when I was growing up and I wanted love. And so as your father, I'm going to give you love. And so he always explained that stuff. And I think a lot of people never got to see behind the gate. And that was always our goal, was this is the telling of the story of the child who became the king of pop. But my dad is someone who's bigger than life. A lot of people don't know or realize he was a human being. He bled and cried just like the rest of us. And that's what we really wanted to show.
Yeah, that's what I feel as well.
Every day I miss him. You know, like, having a parent is very important. And always, you know, he should be here to see the world celebrating right now.
Man.
And it hurts that he isn't. But I take a lot of comfort or consolence in a lot of people lose their parents. But everybody, the world stopped when my dad died. And it certainly did for me, but not a lot of people can say that. And it's just, I've had to share my father with the world.
Yeah.
But it comes with so much love, and it really is a blessing at the end of the day.
Yeah, man.
I think that my father is probably one of the most misunderstood people out there, and I hope that you get a glimpse into the life and the cause and effect that made him who he was. I know when I finished reading the script early on, for me, it felt like a culmination of who my dad was, because I had heard these stories growing up that he had told me himself or that other family members had shared with me. And
you have a nonprofit that was inspired by your father, and you're very passionate about it. It's called Heal Los Angeles Foundation. Tell us about it.
So I take great inspiration and pride in my father and everything that he's accomplished. And one of the most important things I feel is he is the greatest of all time, always will be, but he still made time to give back and used his platform to highlight social needs that we all need to come together. And that's where we take inspiration at the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, is we want to inspire young people to be their best and to give them the tools that they need to succeed.
Obvious, because my father was the king of pop, and King Sun Productions has this mantra where a title is earned but a name is given. So I was born as Prince, and that was the name my dad had given to me, but my dad had earned the epithet King of Pop, and that's through hard work and years of training and everything that he worked so hard to get. So it's a form of motivation, because my name is Prince, but for all intents and purposes, I am the king's son and working to get my own epithet.
That works well together like that. And you put out your first video for a good friend of yours called Automatic, and you learned that your dad made videos look easy. They're not so easy, are they?
No, after doing Automatic, I had done some research, which I should have probably done before.
Right.
But I had found out that my dad's music video, Scream, was actually one of the most expensive music videos to make, adjusted for inflation, of course. But I take a lot of my inspiration from that as well, with the long form of storytelling in music videos, because music is an art, it's a story, it's something that should come from your heart.
Right.
And having an accompanying visual really can tell the story.
Yeah. When did you first realize that your father was the king of pop?
It did take us
Because he was his dad to you.
a while, yes. And even after we realized he was king of pop, again, even to this day, I don't think it holds the same weight to us that it does to other people, because he was our father, our dad, our daddy, whatever you want to call him. But I guess when we kind of realized it was when we saw videos of him performing. We were out of the country at the time. We were watching some videos of his performances, and I've been used to seeing most females pass out when they see their artists, and they get, they get very emotional. But what blew my mind was when I saw these big muscle-bound dudes fainting and having to be dragged out.
That's what you do.
So I was like, okay, there's something else going on here,
Exactly. What would your father? I mean, you have your sister who's got her modeling career off and running. How would he help you? What would he say about your endeavors, his children's endeavors right now?
I mean, as we were growing up, my dad always said, I really don't care what you do in life as long as you're happy doing it and you're the best at what you do. If you want to be a janitor at a high school, you should be the best janitor that you can be. So I think that he would always be the supporting figure to me and my siblings and support us in all the endeavors that we try.
Would he support that beard?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully, it just kind of grew out and we'll see what happens.
I mean, it helps to have your name behind it.
Oh, it definitely does.
And he always said to you, be a leader, didn't he?
Yes. And I think it's more than just being a leader, it's leading by example, because you can be a leader, but you can have people that follow you do things that you wouldn't want to do. And that's not a proper leader. So I choose to lead by example. I'm out there volunteering as much as I can and trying to help and spread the message that this is what should be done.
Yeah. But he seemed to have real sort of foresight, even when you were little, of where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do. And he knew you were interested in the videos, and you now have got your own production company, and this is King's Son Productions. He would bring people in to speak to you and talk to you, and people that were brilliant in their fields. You were learning from a very young age the key skills that you needed to do this.
Yeah, I mean, when we were younger, he had actually hired a professor from, I can't remember which university, it was either UCLA or USC, and this professor had taught us all about framing and shots and the composition and different tracking shots, and it was a very in-depth class.
What was he like as a dad?
It's very hard to explain. I mean, really, what is any parent like as a parent? To me, he was the greatest, and he is the greatest parent as a role model, as an inspiration, and as a motivator. To me and my siblings, he's our rock and our foundation.
And he had a big importance on being kind. That was the thing you took away from him.
For sure. It was the most important thing, I think, to him, is do unto others as you want to do to yourself and to lead by example.
Both in hard educational skills, such as like math and stuff like this, as well as soft educational skills that aren't necessarily covered in school, but that I've benefited a lot from lessons that my father taught me, or lessons that John Muto, my partner, was inspired by my father, and just continuing that loving, kind of nurturing kind of tradition amongst children. And that's what we're all about at the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, to kind of continue that legacy.
I'm
as well.
You know, Prince Michael, I mean, listening to you speak now and seeing some of your interviews, it is incredible, really, with the legacy that you're inheriting and what you could have done. You could have done many things, but here you are, giving so much to people, doing so much charity work. That is in honor of your father, and I get the impression that you feel that your father is very close to you right now, and you're honoring him in the most personal and most important way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I would disagree a little bit in that I could have done anything. I don't believe in that. This is the only thing that I can do, because from a young age, as a young child, my father was very adamant about giving back to the community. And it's just a drive that he instilled in myself and my siblings. And if I couldn't give back to the community, if I couldn't help children, I don't really know what I would do with my life. And you're right in assuming that every time I do this work, I do feel that not only am I making my father proud that I'm continuing this, but I think that he would also be happy that not just his son, but someone my age is trying to continue that message of love and positivity and to spread this idea that we should care for one another.
Well, there's no doubt that he would be very proud at the work you're doing. I've got to ask what on earth it was like having Michael Jackson as a father, growing up with the fame, with the world's attention on him. What was that like for you as a child?
I think human beings are very resilient, so a lot of people expect that kind of answer to be very extravagant or different, but that's how I was raised, and that's kind of all I knew, so that was really normal for me. But when it comes to the foundation and Michael Jackson as my father and him as a parent, he is inextricably tied to the foundation because the positive experiences he gave me and that he made an effort to give me in my childhood really resonated and stuck with me and clearly had positive impacts on my life. And I would like to be able to share that with the world. There's so many messages about leading with love and putting your best foot forward, turning the other cheek, that I feel maybe gets a little lost in translation, especially now with my kind of generation and younger generations, but are still so important and essential to leading happy lives. So I'm just very grateful and honored that I got to spend the time with him that I did and soaked up as much information that I could from him.
I think I heard as well, Prince Michael, that you often still hear your father. You can hear him speaking to you. I mean, that's quite incredible. Tell us about that.
So it's not like a voice in my head, you know, but in a way it is, because when you do philanthropic work and if you care about it a lot, such as myself and my family, I think you tend to carry the weight or the struggles of the people that you're trying to help. And that's really when I hear my father's voice the most, is because those are the times when you struggle the most and you almost wonder, like, how can I continue to keep doing this? And it's during those moments that I hear him. He's like, somebody has to do it. You have to do it. You have to keep pushing forward. And it's important that we do this. And he's kind of always on my shoulder, in my ear, motivating me to keep that moral compass pointing north, if that makes sense. That's a very tough question, just because I don't like to put words in my father's mouth, you know, and I can't say that I ever heard him mention anything about that. And obviously this is something that's really come to light in recent years. But knowing my father and the compassion that he had for individuals who wanted to remain in control of their own life, as it was his goal to be in control of his own life, I would think that he would be very supportive of her cause and he would understand the place that she's coming from. And I think he would wholeheartedly support her.
In the past, of the sort of the words of wisdom or the advice he would give you at the time that have remained with you, and I guess that's what keeps him alive for you. Tell us a little bit about that, the sort of things he would say to you and the guidance and help he's provided you.
I can talk about this for a long time. I feel like with my father, I got the complete package. I got those words of wisdom. I got those kind of childlike prank moments, like when he was telling us about Thriller, the music video. And it's the whole piece of that, you know. He gave me so much nuggets of information that I still lead with love, and that was his biggest message. And that's what I like to do, whether it's in professional for-profit work or if it's in not-for-profit charitable work. It's all about leading with love. And he always would tell us, you know, it's important to be a kid at heart. And I really try to take that to heart. I feel like as we grow up, as we get busy with our everyday lives, it's easy to forget the inner child. And it's sad to think about that, because we each have an inner child. And when you let that out, if you're doing a water balloon fight, if you're playing with Legos, if you're doing a puzzle, if you're playing board games, it rekindles that magic of your childhood. And it's those nuggets of information that stick near and dear to my heart that I feel like they push me to be a better person. And I couldn't be more proud or happier to be in the position that I am to continue such a monumental legacy. Yeah, so Halloween is one of like my siblings and I's favorite holiday because of the memories that are associated with it. You know, when we were growing up, we were always wearing masks. My dad wanted to protect our identity from like the public so we could live some sense of normalcy when we went out without him. But obviously, when you go out, you want to spend time with your parents. You want to do things together. And it's tough when you're the most famous person on the planet to go to the grocery store. So my dad used to dress up to try and hide his identity, but ultimately people would end up recognizing him. So Halloween was that perfect opportunity where we could all dress up in costume and go and just be like a normal family. And there were some years where we couldn't go trick-or-treating for whatever reason, if it was because he was worried about our safety. We would be at Neverland, I remember, in the toy room, and he would bring in these big black garbage bags just filled with candy. And we would be sitting there on the table trading like different candy bars, like my brother, my sister, and my dad and I, just like, oh, you got this?
As I've gotten older, I've learned that a lot of what I think is normal life is not normal life. Growing up at Neverland with my siblings and my father, for us, it was hanging out together as a family, but with the backdrop of elephants and giraffes walking in the background. We spent a lot of time playing board games together, reading books, watching movies. It truly was and is magical. It felt like your own personal Disneyland.
What was he like as a dad?
Awesome. Really fun to just spend time with. I would love to have kids and, you know, take notes on what he did as a father, but he was always on our level in a way, but I don't feel that he made it a point that he didn't want people to speak to us as children. He wanted them to speak to us as an adult. But when he played with us, he played with us. You know, he got down and he was playing with the toys and making up stories, or we'd play board games. He just had a very childlike nature that was so much fun. Always playing pranks on people and stuff. Yeah.
I love that. I remember you telling me about the first time he showed you the Thriller music video.
Yes.
Were you freaking out because you're already young?
Terrified. Yeah, and I wasn't really expecting it. And also he told us that it was real, like it wasn't special effects or anything like that. So again, playing into the prank, right? And it happened to be a full moon that was that night. So he started acting like his stomach was hurting and we just took off running.
Tell me a memory that like the public wouldn't know, we've never heard before, a moment that you had with him in private that you always think about, or something that was really special for you.
When we lived in the Middle East for a little bit, we used to spend a lot of time on the roof for some reason. I remember we'd go up at night. That's when he would do a lot of his like creative thinking, and he'd wake me up at night. We'd go onto the roof and we'd look at the stars and we'd enjoy like a Snickers bar. And it was just moments of him either, sometimes he'd tell me stuff about his life as a child or growing up, or what he wants for me as I grow up. And those are the moments that I miss and that I cherish.
I would see you on the news and I'd see you on TV and in magazines. I would feel bad for you because it felt isolating. You know, you always had security everywhere and things like that. Was it like that for you?
He explained to us the reasons why we did things, whether it was the masks or why we had security, why every time we show up at a building, everybody's around him saying, Michael, right? Going crazy.
Yeah.
I understand why we had to live the way that we did, and I also see a lot of effort that was put to kind of mitigate that isolation. I grew up in a big family, and so I have 40 plus cousins, and I see them as my siblings and my friends, and so I never felt lonely. But definitely a very unique way to grow up.
It is unique.
Photos of him in those, but for me, that was the shirt of my childhood. Like whenever I gave my dad a hug, it was that fact.
Oh, wow.
So to have that with me was amazing.
What do you miss most about him?
I really miss his laughter, his smile, and his grace. He had to deal with so much, and how he was able to navigate it. I wish I could ask him questions about that. Well, I take a lot of pride in the family that I come from. They worked their butt off for me to be in this position that I am, and my father being the greatest entertainer of all time is amazing to say, but the greatest thing about him, in my opinion, was his desire and really his obsession to give back to the communities. And I try to take that with me in everything that I do, and I've started. For me, it's really like I had such a great childhood growing up. I was very privileged, and I'd love to be able to share some of that with the less fortunate in order to encourage them to pursue their dreams while also giving them the tools to lead happy and successful lives.
I love this.
Because I'm getting emotional talking to you. I'm a father of 4 daughters, and it gets me right here, hearing you talk about your dad. And I know he would be proud of you.
So proud.
And are you proud of yourself?
I try to be. I try to conduct myself every day in a way that I'd be proud of, because when I was younger, my dad would always say that we represent him when we go out in the world. So I try to carry myself with the integrity that his name deserves, because I'm a junior. Take a lot of pride in that. And
I had never really had a paranormal experience, to be honest, until Ireland. And Ireland has a lot of rich, ancient history, you know, and we stayed on the grounds, and we stayed on a property. Neverland is 2,700 acres, huge. The property we stayed at was 7,000 acres.
Jeez,
this place was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yes, it was insane. And
that's like a city.
We would go around in the forest. It was a lot of it was honestly like a jungle almost, and a lot of fallen trees, really tranquil. And there was a lake. So we would go around the forest trying to take photos. And there was this one time where I was posing against a tree and looking at my dad this way, and he was taking a photo of me. But then he kind of just like, you know what I mean? Brought the camera down. I was like, I thought he was messing with me for a while. And then I could tell that he wasn't. And I started hearing kind of like chains rattling behind me. And my dad just took off running and left me.
You guys, this is such a special day.
Prince is here. Prince Jackson, welcome to the Ellen K Morning Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, so good to see you. I love your smile.
Thank you. Thank you.
Were you born just like a happy kid?
I would like to think so. I had a great childhood, and
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be here every day. So just a personal choice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that.
I mean, my father is one of a kind, and there's so many things that he told me when I had my short time with him that I treasure a lot. And his message is left behind in his music, whether it's Earth Song, Heal the World, We Are the World. And that's one of the things that's just so amazing about him. And I think unique.
Wow.
Oh, another thing I have, because I
Yeah.
actually have two, these are very, like, maybe to Joe Schmo, maybe they don't mean a lot, but to me, they mean a lot. We were doing film school when I was younger with my dad. He brought a professor from UCLA or USC to teach us at home. And my cousin Taj had saved it for me and gave it to me a couple years ago. But it was our notebook of framing shots and stuff like that with my dad's notes that he was writing in there in his red ink. And so that's another one that I keep close to the vest because it means a lot.
Oh, that is so cool. Wow. And now you're a living, breathing, philanthropic machine. Prince Jackson is with us, and you're doing so much good. And that's you got to go to sleep every night feeling so close to your dad and also feeling so close to your city.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, my dad gave me so many great lessons, and one of them really being a man of integrity, because you got to live with yourself at the end of the day. And so I try to conduct myself in a way that I can sleep with myself at night. And I take a great sense of pride in being an Angelino and being an American and being a Jackson. There's always things that we can improve on and look at the mirror and make that change. And I try to lead by example if I can.
And all through this interview, we're going to be playing.
You got to tell us, like, what was it like growing up in such an iconic family? Like, were you aware that your father was as famous as he was, like the most famous person in the world?
Yeah. I don't know, Kat.
A lot of people ask me this question, and I think it comes off, people are like, oh, it was an aha moment where it just kind of clicked and everybody was like, oh, my family's famous. But it's really more like there was little seeds as I was growing up and getting older, and I saw, that people would follow us around. People would just want to reach out and touch my dad. But it was really when I was like maybe around 10 or 11 in the Middle East when I was watching a video of my father performing. And I don't remember the name of the tour. I believe it may have been the History Tour, but he's performing outside and you see this just sea of people, and there's people fainting in the audience. And I asked my dad, I'm like, why are they fainting? I see you every day and I don't faint. Message, and his music and the way he performed. So that if there was an aha moment or a moment where it really clicked, it was that I had that resonation that people really, loved my father.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's crazy because obviously you love your father, like he, raised you. And so you're kind of like, Dad, why are these people like feigning? Like you're just, a regular guy in my mind, which I think is amazing. So, I mean, growing up with your father, like how was that? And like, how close are you with your family now?
Well, I mean, I can't say enough great things, obviously, about the time that I spent with my father. And then with my cousins, my grandmother, my other cousin, TJ, it's just, I love the idea that I have such a big family and have such a big support group. When I was living with my dad, music is something that's kind of just present, obviously, within my family and just within the household. It's something that echoes through the halls of the house. Either someone's singing or you can hear somebody doing a little beat. And that was with my father. That was with my cousins. And it just kind of, music just echoes through the house,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Like, can you just turn the music down for like 2 seconds? I'm trying to do some work. Like, please.
No.
No.
I don't think anybody
doesn't know.
So I just have to know, being that Michael Jackson was known for being a lover of all music and a pioneer in introducing new artists and genres to the forefront, what kind of music did you listen to growing up?
Well, I mean, you hit it kind of right on the head. He exposed us to all genres and really wanted to know the forefront. So we listened to a lot of like the radio and the top 100s, top 10s, but also a lot of the classics like classical music, Mozart, Beethoven. Now, I can't tell the names of the songs, but like, I enjoy a classic Adagio for strings, one of my dad's favorites. So there really wasn't a genre that we didn't listen to. He was an artist and he had an appreciation for his craft.
And I think whether it was all genres, opera to country and everything in between, there was this appreciation for that work that goes into this.
Yeah. So did you and your siblings do what we did back in the day, what we all did, and dance around to your dad's music video?
What I was doing today, all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, yes.
I mean, of course. I haven't actually met someone who hasn't, to be honest.
Right.
And it's always great to hear. But my favorite memory is I have one of my sister, and my brother was in the room, but it was my sister and I, and we were worked up about like saving the animals. And we did a protest in our bedroom listening to They Don't Care About Us. We're like, it's just
that's awesome.
So you are telling us that you have never moonwalked, or you cannot moonwalk?
Tried it, and I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna moonwalk. Maybe we'll have like a big event, you know. But like, I do need to work on my moonwalk. It's not worth it.
The money I would pay to see you do that moonwalk. I feel like Michael would just give you that energy. He would be like smiling down, passing it along to you. It's in your blood. It's
do it right. I gotta get some practice in, you know. Then I'll just surprise everybody with it.
That's all. Let us know when you want to do that, because we all will be too. Okay.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I gotta give you and your family your roses, because your pops was a big influence. Your pops was one of the main reasons I made music. I made history because of your pops. My first single, My Baby, I remixed the Jackson 5, and that's what I used to listen to as a kid. And I still remember meeting your pops. I performed for him at Madison Square Garden right before 9/11 happened, the tragedy in New York. And we was at Madison Square Garden. And he literally, like, your pops listened to everything. He knew my dad rap songs. My dad, a gangster rapper from down south. And he was singing Master P songs to my dad. And he even knew my music. And it was just a moment where I knew, like, I could do this. Like, you know, Michael definitely gave me like that green light that anything's possible. And you never know who you're inspiring. I remember performing on that stage, and he was singing my song with me. So you definitely, you come from a great, amazing man, and he definitely inspired me to be where I'm at today. But with that being said, you didn't get the music bug, but your sister Paris did. And you actually...
For years, I have been seeing headlines and thumbnails saying that Prince finally admits or reveals that he is not Michael's son. I have not found a single clip where he actually says that. Quite the opposite.
I still want to be in the entertainment industry because it's kind of in my blood, and I've always been around it.
Instead of bringing a big pillow, I got a pillow and I get to think about my girl.
Big heads by Jackson nature. Like, you don't need a pillow.
Because me being his son, that I'm biologically supposed to stand up for him, and that's what I do. I feel that I would be a very difficult target to bully. Yeah. Just because of my lineage and whose kid I am, I don't necessarily think.
Not it. But I want to know where your passion for motorcycles came from.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like it's a culmination of factors. But I was told when I was younger, if I would be on a plane, I was crying. My dad would put me on the floor of the plane because the engine would kind of like lull me to sleep. And then when I got older and we would drive, the engine of the car would do the same thing. And then I learned to drive and I realized I could control it. And then you learn to drive in LA. Who doesn't see bikes lane splitting? You got to deal with the traffic.
Right.
And then I learned how to drive stick shift, and I realized I had even more control. And then I was like, motorcycling is next, you know? And another thing is too, it does play a factor in it, is I really love the Speed Demon music video.
Got it. You remember the first time you watched Thriller with your dad?
Oh yeah. That's a very traumatic moment for me. I remember I was very young. We were at Neverland and we watched it on the big screen in the theater that we had there. And the moment where he, not the full wear cap, but in between the transformation, when he goes and he's like, get away, the teeth in the eyes, it just terrified me. And then after we had finished the music video, he said, you guys should be careful. You know, you can't be around me when the full moon comes up because that's real.
Oh, yes.
Story about what would happen once the full moon came out. And sometimes he'd be like, and then he'd start running away terrified. But that was the first time I watched Thriller.
Man.
Oh, yeah. When I was growing up, my dad would tell me stories about my grandpa always scaring him and his brothers. He'd creep up to the window in Gary with a mask on, and my grandma would not expect him to be coming, so she'd be terrified. And then when my siblings and I were younger with our little cousins, we always try to hop up out of like dark rooms and stuff like this. So it's kind of like a family tradition to try and scare.
you know?
Man, I love that. I gotta ask you, what was Halloween like at your house growing up though? Like, do you have any traditions other than scaring people, of course?
Of course. Halloween is such an awesome holiday for me because when we were growing up, obviously we wore masks, right, to conceal our identity. But Halloween is one of those few holidays where it's normal for everybody to wear a mask. So
Right.
that one day out of the year where we got to go out with my dad to like some family friends' houses and do kind of trick or treating a little bit and do kind of a normal celebration of Halloween. But also when we were younger, and I don't know if you remember, but people were concerned about some people putting like poison and razor blades in their kids' candy.
Oh, yeah.
So we would go and we'd collect the candy, but my dad would always throw that away and he would give us a pillowcase filled with candy. But then he would only give us one day to eat it. So I would remember every year getting so sick, just trying to eat as much of the candy as I could. Lesson learned though, don't eat too much candy.
As a holiday. Do you have memories as a kid, going out trick-or-treating or was that something that you were able to do?
Yes, well, that's why it's one of our favorite holidays, because when my dad would go out, obviously people would recognize him, so he started dressing up in costume. Well, sometimes when you dress up in costume, it attracts more attention, but not on Halloween, because everybody's going out, So I do remember, I think we may have been in Beverly Hills, sometimes in Vegas, where we would go trick-or-treating with my dad, but nobody would know it was him because everybody, even the security guards were dressed up, So it was kind of incognito in that way.
Right. I think this is my 5th year, I think, at the Thriller Night Party.
Awesome. Yeah, it was terrifying. The first time I saw Thriller was at the theater in Neverland, and I don't remember if it was on the 35mm print or if it was on VHS, but we played it on the big screen. And for some reason, my dad thought it'd be funny to tell us like it's based on a true story or something like that. And, like this happens to him when the full moon comes out. And that night he was messing with us because it was almost a full moon. It looked like a full moon, you know?
Right.
And he started doing the and then I remember my sister and I, we just ran out of his room. We're like, no, we're not doing this. Yeah.
I was born out here in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And then around when I was like 6 or 7, I think, I left the country with my father.
Yep.
And after that, I traveled a lot, so I got to see the Middle East. I lived in Bahrain, Dubai, and Oman for a while.
Bahrain's
And then I stayed in Ireland for a little bit, visited Japan. I got to see a lot of cultures growing up, and I'm very thankful for that. It opened up my eyes not only to see how the other side lives, but to be understanding and accepting of many other cultures, because so many people are different from us, and you might not understand why. You know?
Yeah. How old were you when you were bouncing around the countries?
It's hard to tell because I don't really remember the age, but I'm pretty sure it was from the ages of 6 or 7 till 10 or 11.
Yep.
And I was going
You're
around
just
from
going.
different countries. Yeah. And so, I was homeschooled for pretty much most of my life. And my homeschooling was a little different when I was out of the country.
Yep.
I was learning more about cultures, and my father was really adamant about us being implemented and integrated into that culture and trying to learn. Because a teacher can tell you this is why someone thinks like this, because this is the history of it. But it doesn't really connect and it doesn't really click, and you don't truly understand it until you go out there and you make some type of connection with a native or a local of that culture.
Yeah. Was there a moment you remember, very specifically when you were 6 to 11, that was very impactful for you?
When I was in Bahrain, I went to a souk. And I think I'm saying that right, but I'm not.
What's a souk?
It's like a very traditional mall. So Bahrain is not by no means an older country. It's probably been around for a while, but it's very modern and very up to date. But it's also very traditional in the sense that they have these souks, which are basically, they're built very traditionally. I don't know what they're made out of, but they're single level, single story. And it's almost like you're being back in Arabian Nights, where there's vendors everywhere selling everything from carpets and swords, but also really cool iPhones and modern technology there.
I would buy a sword.
Yeah, and my dad bought a lot of swords, and you collect I don't know if the term is taxidermied, but bugs, collections of bugs and spiders and really cool stuff.
Crazy.
But
people collect bugs?
Yes, some people do. And if you get them framed out there, you get tarantulas and wasps, really crazy stuff.
Crazy.
But what I really remember about that was, and this is my first kind of introduction to the Muslim culture, was at a certain time of day, everybody stopped because the prayer came on the loudspeaker from the mosque.
Did you have a lot of friends growing up, or were your friends on the road? I'm just thinking
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of friends growing up that were mostly my dad's colleagues. So I had more mature friends and friends that were a lot older than I did. I had a few friends in each country that were close to my age because they were the children of some of my dad's associates.
Yeah. Was there a reason you think that your father
had you guys go through that process, or is it just kind of he wanted to keep you guys with you?
Exactly. So my father loved all of his children very much, and he hated to be away from them. There was only I can't even really remember a time that he left us. So if he had to leave the country for work, we were going to be there with him. And because we were leaving with him, he wanted it to be an educational experience, something that you wouldn't normally be able to have. So that's why he decided to immerse us into the culture as best as he could. That was probably around when my dad was starting the O2. Yeah, I get the numbers mixed up, but it was the O2 show, that This Is It tour, the final tour.
Yep.
And he had to be local in the state, so we were staying in Vegas for a while. But that drive from Vegas to California, because everything's in Los Angeles, was just so difficult. So then we ended up living in Los Angeles, and I'm pretty much been here since
You've been
then.
here. You've been here ever since. So you came back. You were living out of Vegas.
Yes.
Did he have a show out of Vegas? Or
he didn't. It's just being in Los Angeles is hard, especially if you're in the industry. You know, sometimes you need to step away and get some space.
Well, that was my one question for you. Like the question I kind of wanted to hit on that one for you. How hard was it growing up being you?
I wouldn't say so. The way I talk about my life is in two stages. There's kind of life with my dad and then life after he died.
Yep.
And when he was alive, it's very easy because I was so sheltered that I didn't have really that awareness or that cognitive sense that his fame came down to me.
Yep.
So it was super easy in that sense. And then after he died, obviously there was an adjustment period to where I don't want to say I had to take the reins, but I was in control of my own identity at that point. And I definitely became more aware that people were following me, paparazzi or stalking me and all types of stuff like this. So I wouldn't say it was difficult, but there was an adjustment period. And because I had been given the tools by my father at a young age to deal with this, you know, so I can't say that it was very difficult.
But so you said it was easy for you, though, kind of being his son growing up. It was
because to me, it was just like you being a son to your dad,
right,
you know, and there was none
right.
of that, my father's the king of pop type of thing. It was just, that was my dad, you know.
Yeah.
It's more about, it's also taking charge and making sure that, or trying to keep the family on the right track as far as siblings and everything, but also because I have that name and I have that image and that legacy to live up to, there's an additional pressure kind of on top of that.
What was your identity growing up? That was my question. Like following him around, doing his thing all the time. Like, what were the things you were interested in? You know,
we were always interested in film.
Okay.
So we used to study film together.
Yeah.
And we would watch it without music or sound because he used to always talk about how music is quintessential to a film. The musical score can affect the mood and the vibe of it.
Yep.
If you're watching a scary movie without sound, it's not scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we used to study it frame by frame and just try and see what these guys did, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. Animals is something that's kind of transferred from him to me, like his love of animals.
Yeah.
I have a love of animals.
As do I.
Yeah, they're fantastic. It's hard to think. And then, you know, Legos and building with your hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My father gave me the tools at a young age to know who I couldn't trust.
Yep.
And after his passing, I mean, obviously, yes, I lost a leader, like somebody to look up to and a role model. But I didn't lose those teachings that he was instilling in us at a young age. So it's very difficult to tell people's intentions right out the gate. But I think because of who I am and the way I've been raised, I've gotten pretty good at it, you know, and figuring out who has the best intentions for me and who doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel that I would be a very difficult target to bully.
Yeah.
Just because of my lineage and whose kid I am, I don't necessarily think... I'm definitely a thrill seeker, but my dad was more adventurous.
Yep.
So for me, it's more, you're kind of putting something on the line and it's a little bit dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's where you get that adrenaline rush. But growing up, my dad always wanted to go... I was on, you know what quads are? Like four-wheelers, ATVs. So I was always doing that with him. I had a mean burn from the engine one time. And, you know, you kind of just... It wasn't dangerous. It could be, obviously.
Yeah.
But we would go and we would climb mountains and we would just look and get to the top of the view, maybe have a picnic up there. Or we would go on a walk through a forest and go find something. And that kind of adventurous spirit was definitely instilled in me. And I felt that it carries over perfectly on the motorcycle. You know?
Thank you for all those nice words, by the way. You know, we're just trying to do what we're trying to do. But it started at LMU. Honestly, it started a lot before because when I was growing up, my dad really wanted to instill the idea of giving back because we are so fortunate that we owe it to our community and to our brothers and sisters to pay it back into the community in any way that we can and to be of service, you know. And so I had already kind of done that when I was in high school. And then when I went to college with John Mudo, or I actually went there, we met in the middle of the night. He kind of surprised me. He's like, "You're Michael Jackson's son." And he's been inspired by my dad, seeing him on TV and doing all his philanthropic work. And John, at an early age, knew that's really where he wanted to be as far as his career and what he wanted to do with his house. It was awesome.
There you go. Nice work, bro. Obviously, you mentioned your dad kind of instilling or putting those values into you. Obviously, he had the Heal the World Foundation, which he launched in 92. I was doing some research on some of the charitable stuff that he's done, man, and it's mind-blowing. Guinness World Records recognized him for supporting 39 charities, which is more than any other entertainer ever. He was nominated twice for a Nobel Peace Prize for his humanitarian work.
That's news to me, to be honest. I did not know that. That's really
Isn't that crazy? Once in the 90s and once in the early 2000s.
Wow.
So his work in this field was obviously a massive inspiration for you. I guess, what have you taken away from those learnings that you've kind of put to work with what you're doing at Heal LA?
That's such a good question, to be honest, because I only have, obviously, the memories that I have of him and what he's left behind for us to really try and navigate this philanthropic ideals. And he really taught us at an early age principles as far as, you know, leading with love, trying to listen with open heart and open ears. So I think those are the main principles that I've tried to apply to both the Heal Los Angeles Foundation and my everyday life. Is when you lead with love, your initial steps, you're already off to a good start. You know, and I think when you come from that perspective, your entire goals and objectives for what you want to do really changes. Right. And as far as listening with an open heart, it really means to not really impart your biases. As human beings, it's natural for us to have biases. And this is how I've translated it up until this point in my life. You know, it may have a whole new meaning as I get older, but how I've tried to apply it as far as the teachings that I learned from him is when you try to not impart your biases on people's thought process and opinions, and you really listen to what they need and what they're telling you they need, you're able to better help them. And so that's another principle that we've adopted as well as a foundation, and that I try to do in my everyday life.
Awesome, bro. And as you say, like, the most important thing really is to lead with love. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, obviously donations are wonderful. We have a donation thing here in the chat. But a lot of people think that you need to be donating money to help in some way, shape or form. But it's a lot more than, I guess, that. You know, you can go and put a smile on someone's face, and that in itself is helping someone by, you never know what type of day they've been having. You know what I mean? It's the small things that really can amount to, as you say, making the world a better place. Over the last few years, I know that
when you go in the house, there's a staircase, and on the staircase there's this white couch, and it's in front of a window that overlooks the backyard, which had the lakes and the black swans in it, and it had like flower designs on it. And I remember my dad combing my hair, because I was born with hair. He combed it with a silver comb, not like a brush. It was like a comb, and it had it was like a small comb, but it was like silver. I just remember him combing my hair, and he always wore his red corduroy shirt.
So growing up at Neverland, what was that like?
It was kind of hard to remember it because we like left early. Like when I was like 6, we left. And I just remember like we used to go to the zoo sometimes and the amusement park with our dad all the time. And I learned to drive on Neverland. My dad taught me how to drive in a GMC Yukon XL. And I started driving by just doing the steering wheel. And he did the gas. And I learned one of the most important lessons where you don't drive fast and turn, from like something that happened almost. But he taught me how to drive. And then I started working on gas with the golf carts. And he used to take me all the time on ATVs. We used to go up into the mountains and just like relax. He named one of the mountains after Grandma, Mount Catherine, and then he named another one after Grandpa, and that's Mount Joseph.
That's nice. Just a reminder for the next question and to restate the question.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say when I was at Neverland. So growing up in this amusement park, did you think that was the way all kids grew?
When I was growing up there, I don't think like I thought about it that deeply because I was like before like 7 years old, before I was like able to think about that kind of stuff. Or I didn't really think about like if there's anybody else out there. I just thought about like that it was me, my brother, my sister, if my brother was even alive at the time. But I thought it was just like us and my dad and everybody that like I interacted with on that daily basis. Their music. He always listened to like the latest hip hop radio just to hear what was going on with music. Then he'd call somebody up. Well, he'd have me call him up because he doesn't like know how to use a phone. And he would just call them up and tell them that he wants to start working on a beat like this. He'd get a beat like at 12 o'clock in the morning, wake me up and say we have to make a beat. And I'd set up the computer for him and we'd make something. Well, he'd make it and I'd just like record it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And who taught you how to use?
The computers I kind of learned just by messing around with it, like because he didn't know how to use computers or phones or anything. Like I texted for him, he didn't even know how to use his own iPhone. But like for his computers, I learned how to use GarageBand. I was still in the middle of learning how to use Logic, and I still kind of am right now. And he mostly did that. I hooked up a Casio keyboard into it, so he played a little bit of the sounds on a keyboard. And then this was before he got in like a professional team. After he got in a professional team, they helped him a lot more. And I kind of learned how to use a soundboard on my own because like I just started fooling around with what the volume was and what the trim was and how each like knob and button worked around.
So what kind of music did your dad introduce you to?
My dad introduced me to like all the music. I know most of my music because of my dad, because I listen to a lot of like old music from like the 70s, a lot of classical music. Like they all sound, the music from the classical era sounds the same to me. But I just know like they're really good music. And like they're nice to fall asleep to. He had it playing around Neverland all the time. It was a very like peaceful aura, but with like the music that I have from, he used to play a lot of cultured music. He used to play a lot of James Brown. He used to talk a lot about like Aretha Franklin, all these people like that inspired him to dance. And so most of my phone is filled with music that he introduced me to. Well, when my dad used to talk about James Brown, because when he was in the Jackson 5, he used to follow after James Brown. He used to watch James Brown. He told me that he used to watch how he moved his body to like dance. And he said that is one of the main things that inspired him to do the moonwalk. And like for other artists, he used to listen to their beats and how they use their lyrics to almost tell a story. He said music is like telling a story and dance is like telling a story with your body. So he liked to combine those two things and just give it to his fans. It took me like till I was like 6 years old to learn that his name was Michael Jackson. He was always daddy to me and that was it. But then I later found out that he was famous just by, seeing people crowd around him.
Do you remember having a conversation with him about it when you discovered it?
No, we never really like talked about it. I mean, because I guess like I kind of like put two and two together. It's not like that I found out that he was famous. It's like I got smarter about it. Because I guess I just put two and two together. You watch enough movies and you watch enough TV and you eventually end up seeing that he's like famous and everybody like worships him. So we never really talked about it, but I asked him one time, how come you never told us that you were like this? He says, because I'm just a normal person. I just want you guys to look at me as like daddy, and that was it. And he says, and also on top of it, I didn't want it to change your person. He said you should always be humble and stuff. And that's the way he was, and that's the way I try to be because of him. But he never really stopped working. He always said you never stop learning and you always keep doing. He was always reading, always like on the phones talking about doing things. He had a lot of big things he wanted planned. He was trying to get us started and stuff. And he was working on music a lot of the time. That's why I was helping him with that. He worked on that Sobe Life Water commercial, I think with a Thriller Lizards. And he had more plans for that. He had a lot of things that were going on. Some things got like postponed because of the O2. And he didn't really work all the time. And when he did, like before it became official, I would help him with it. So like I spent most of my time with him because he would wake me up and tell me that we have to we have to record a song or something. And he loved photography. He would always take pictures of us with like certain lighting. If he loved the way lighting was, like when we were out in public, he would recreate it at the house just to like retake it.
So So he was teaching you music.
He wasn't teaching me music. He told me to follow what I wanted to do, and I want to do like movies and like still in entertainment, just not like the music area. Like I can't do that. I've tried. It's kind of bad. I actually don't know how I sing. I've never tried it, but like I just don't feel like that's be something I do because I just want to like leave my dad's legacy alone because that's something that he took care of. But he taught me how to use, he told me like that he needs help with the music and I love to help him with anything I could. So I helped him with the mixing and stuff, and I used to fool around with different like beats and stuff and a sound. Like I used to play with synth basses, and he used to say, "I love that sound. Let's make a beat out of it." And so he did it.
What kind of dad was he?
He was really funny. He always told us to keep learning. He always pushed us to excel. He used to teach us. Words, like new words. I remember one of them was topography. And he used to say, like, whoever uses this word more than this other person in a day gets, like, candy or something like that. So he taught me, like, me, my brother, and my sister all these words that normally, not a lot of people use. He tried to strengthen our vocabulary. He opened our eyes, I guess, to culture because he respected each individual culture, like as religion, as traditions and all that they do. He also had us read a lot, like stories and stuff, because I guess it would strengthen your storytelling and your like writing. And we used to watch movies without the sound, because he would show us how we'd watch the movie first with the sound, then he'd turn it all the way off and show us like how the director like cuts between scenes, fades between it, and then he would show us also how a scary movie is not scary without sound. You turn it off and there's nothing scary about it. So he showed us a lot about that. When I told him I wanted to do film directing, he got us a film teacher from, I think, USC. We started working on that, did a lot of good videos. He, like, supported us in, like, everything we tried to do.
Wow, sounds like a great dad.
Yeah.
And you traveled a lot with him.
Yeah, he took us most of the places that he could with him for his business.
Tell me about when you left Neverland.
Well, Neverland was, like, the only home we ever knew, and probably that I ever actually know of since like today. It was something like that was my whole world that I was used to, and I don't know why we left it. And people tell me stuff here and there, but like I only listen to some of like our closest friends that my dad had kept around, and so they explained stuff to me, and they explained stuff to me after a while, but like I didn't know what was going on. I just thought we were going on vacation, we were coming back. I just hated the car ride because it was a long car ride. And I had car sickness, like when I was little. So I hated car rides. I slept the whole car ride. And I don't know where we were going. I don't really remember where we went after Neverland either. But like, I love traveling with him because going on the planes was something that I was used to, and I loved it with him. It was so much fun. I had a lot of fun with my dad out in Bahrain because he loved the heat and I loved the heat. But he would wear glasses, and I like in the sun. But it's so humid out there that your glasses lenses will fog up within like a couple seconds of you being out there. So we used to go out a lot at night. It's about 80 degrees out there at night. I remember every night we used to go up on the roof and just like watch the sky. And he'd give me a Snickers and a Coke, and it's something we always just used to do every night. I still look at the sky at night.
What did he teach you about?
He told me about like the universe, how it's ever expanding. He was philosophical, I guess, when it comes to thinking like that. He believed in a higher power, like he believed in Jehovah or whatever God that your religion is, but he didn't believe in a lot of the religious stuff, like saying that you can't do this, you can't do that, or there's something like that. But he was just, he respected all religions, no matter what your God was, but he thought that there was more out there because the universe is ever expanding, and each one of those stars is about as big or twice as big than our sun. And he says that we can't be like the only planet out there. I don't know if he was talking about aliens. He was just talking about how big the actual universe is. And he used to talk about how beautiful the world is and who could have made something that's so beautiful. And that's like where he used to talk about God a lot. He used to just like marvel at everything. Like a flamingo, the pink flamingo, he loved flamingos. He just said the media, like I know he used to almost be moved to tears about it because the media had made up so much stuff about him, and they still do. And personally, I think they're all wrong and ignorant. But I don't know, they're like,
he ended up ignoring it most of the time, but sometimes it would just get too much for him because that is his public image. But like, I guess in the end, he was like proven, I guess, like everything they said about him wasn't true. And he always told me that the media would twist your words like that. So, you be careful what you say to him. And still, I don't trust people like the paparazzi or any like news reporters, anybody like that because of it, And some of the people who were actually like talking against him, like during, I think, the 2002 trial, they're like best friends with the family now. So like, they try to be nice to him. Well, I mean, it makes me angry, but my dad always told me, kill him with kindness. So I don't know, like, how to do that, actually. So I normally just, like, really try to ignore it because I know that they're actually ignorant, whatever they are. Like, most people that think like that, they really don't know him as a person. So
Prince is on the board of Heal the World. So what would you like to do, your work with the board? What would you like to see?
I guess continue what our dad was doing, like helping children from across the world and animals who couldn't speak up for themselves.
Tell me one, movie aside, tell me one two-part question. One super normal thing that you and your dad did. I mean, just so normal, it'd be almost boring.
We took a lot of walks. We would go out in nature, depending on where we were living at the time. We'd take a lot of walks on the beach in the Middle East. We'd take a lot of walks through forests in Ireland. And
that's where you told me the paranormal story.
Exactly. So that's one of those things, right? We just do a lot of that. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the most normal things, but spending a lot of time outside, playing tag or hide and seek, hiding behind trees and stuff.
Okay, get to the second part of that question. Give me the most Michael or unbelievable moment you did with your dad.
I look back on it now and it's shutting down toy stores. I think that's just insane.
That's crazy.
It's really, and for like three of us, for me, that was normal growing up, but looking back and seeing it now and I always remember they would cardboard or tape up the windows so he could have privacy in there.
Did you get it as a kid what they were doing, or did it hit you? Or
I understand it more now. Like, it was explained to me as a kid and why they were doing these things, but after seeing it kind of a third person point of view and why he had to do things like that, and us also having the benefit of hosting our toy store takeover a couple times with the Heal Los Angeles Foundation. It's not an easy thing to do to shut down a toy store, but it's it really is. It's one of those MJ things,
Hey, speaking of Heal LA, what